Hello students, today we will be learning all about infancy, the growth and development of an infant, what are his nutritional requirements, what are his food requirements, what is breastfeeding, what are the contents of the breast milk, what is meant by supplementary feeding or weaning, and the points to be kept in mind while weaning an infant. So let us start with first the growth and development of an infant. Who is an infant? An infant is a person who is a newborn baby from the day he is born, that is 0 to 12 months of age. That period is called as infancy. Now next to the fetal period, this period of 0 to 12 months is the period of the most rapid growth and development. According to WHO, an infant who is a newborn whose ideal weight is around 3.2 kg doubles his weight by the time he is 6 months old and triples his weight by the time he is 1 year of age, and the birth height or length of 55 centimeters increases by another 23 to 25 centimeters by the end of the first year of life. And let us see what are the changes in his physiological makeup occur during this birth time of infancy. At birth, the child has, when you look at the composition of his body, 75% of water and only 12 to 15% of fat in body. But by the end of the first year of life, the percentage of water comes down to 60% and the percentage of fat increases to 24%. Now muscles will be well formed by the end of first year of life. Infants have rapid heart rate of 120 to 140 beats per minute. At birth, a healthy newborn baby has a hemoglobin level which is much higher than an adult of 17 to 20 grams percent per 100 ml of blood. The baby reserves this iron for the next 4 to 6 months of his life due to expanding blood volume and the increase in the muscle mass. A full-term infant can digest protein, emulsified fats and simple carbohydrates such as lactose, which is naturally found in the milk. Now kidneys reach their full functional capacity only by the end of the first year of life. Eruption of teeth is completed by the end of the first year of life, and increase in the brain cells is the most rapid during the first 5 to 6 months of infant after birth. Therefore, the growth during infancy is very rapid and dietary adaptation is required. Now let us look at the nutritional requirements of an infant. During infancy, much of the nutrient requirements are met through the mother's breast milk. Now the doctors are advising exclusive breastfeeding for a newborn baby up to 6 months of life without any kind of supplementation, even with water or any other food item. Totally breastfeed the baby for the first 6 months because mother's milk contains all the nutrients and all the essential components that are required by an infant for his growth. The recommended dietary allowances for an infant are as follows. Energy. The basal and total energy needs of a newborn infant are 2.5 times higher than that of an adult. An adult requires only 40 kilocalories per kilo of the body weight, whereas an infant needs 108 calories per unit of the body weight. For example, a 1-month-old infant uses 50% of energy for basal purpose, 25% energy for activity and 40% energy as a child is growing for activity and another 25% for growth. Naturally, a child who is crawling or walking needs more amount of energy for the activity purpose, and therefore we need to provide more energy in the form of kilocalories. Now 70% of the energy needs of the infant are met through the mother's milk up to after 6 months. But up to 6 months, all the energy that the infant requires comes from mother's milk. Let us look at the protein. Like energy, the protein needs are also very high, that is double that of an adult when compared to an adult for an infant. That is, adult requirement is roughly about 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, whereas a newborn infant requires 1.8 grams of protein per kg of body weight. This is due to the rapid growth that is expected to happen during infancy. Now, human milk provides all the amino acids and the proteins which are in the right amount for this rapid growth of the infant, and all the 100% protein found in the mother's milk is completely utilized. Now, as the child is growing from 6 months to 12 months, the protein needs come down as well as the energy needs. If excess protein is fed, it is harmful to the infant, as protein needs to be deaminated and his kidneys are not totally functional. Therefore, we need to be careful in giving whatever mother's milk is there, the protein is sufficient to be provided to the infant. Essential fatty acids. The most important essential fatty acid that the infant requires is linoleic acid. Now, that is present in lot of amounts in the mother's milk. If infants are fed with less fat, they develop skin lesions and other skin problems, etc. Therefore, we need to be careful in providing mother's milk to the infant. Now, both the cow's milk and mother's milk satisfy this requirement. Calcium and phosphorus. As we know, large amount of calcium and phosphorus are required as there is rapid growth. At birth, the bones of the baby are poorly calcified. By the time the baby walks, the calcification of bones and eruption of teeth occurs. Therefore, if sufficient amount of calories are not provided to the infant, then both these are affected. In human milk, the calcium phosphorus ratio which is found is exactly what is needed by the baby's body, that is 2:1, whereas this proportion is very high in cow's milk. Iron. Looking at the iron needs, it is 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight for an infant of up to 3 months. But at birth, an infant is born with huge amounts of stores of iron which are equal to 75 milligrams per kg of iron. So, during the first 4 to 6 months, even though we know very well that the mother's milk is having less amount of iron, his liver stores of iron which he has built up during fetal life are sufficient to fulfill his need for iron up to 4 months. After that, we need to take care through supplementation. This is because of increasing body weight needs. Zinc, one of the most essential mineral for normal brain development of an infant, and high amounts of zinc are found in mother's milk as well as in the colostrum. Sodium, the right amount of sodium is found in the mother's milk as needed by the infant. Iodine. A pregnant woman with goiter gives birth to infant with cretinism, and mother's milk has sufficient amount of iodine to fulfill the RDA for iodine. Vitamin A. The RDA is 350 micrograms. Breast milk contains sufficient amounts of vitamin A. Now, a healthy infant also has built up a large store of vitamin A in his liver during the fetal life if the mother's diet is sufficient in vitamin A. Looking at vitamin D requirement, it is very essential for the utilization and retention of calcium and phosphorus into the bones. Neither human nor cow's milk has enough vitamin D, and therefore this vitamin D for an infant should come from exposing the infant to the early morning sunlight, which becomes the main source of vitamin D in an infant's life. Vitamin E, Food and Nutrition Board has prescribed 5 international units during infancy. Vitamin K, which is you know very well to prevent hemorrhage. Newborn babies are susceptible for this hemorrhage. Therefore, a single dose of 1 milligram of vitamin K is given as an injection immediately after birth to prevent hemorrhage. Now, breastfed baby is more susceptible to vitamin K deficiency. Vitamin B complex is requirements are based on the weight of the infant, which is based on calorie consumption. Now, all this, if the mother consumes sufficient amount of B complex vitamins, her milk also provides all the needed vitamins, especially of the B complex group, to the baby. Now, in infants sometimes we see infantile beriberi suddenly, which occurs in infants due to a deficiency of thiamine. Therefore, one must be very careful that the mother should consume a diet which has high amounts of thiamine. Vitamin C, RDA recommended by ICMR is 25 milligrams, and both mother's milk and cow's milk are deficient in vitamin C. Therefore, one should be careful, otherwise the child develops what we call scurvy, which affects the bones. Now, let us look at the importance of exclusive breastfeeding. Breastfeeding, the composition of breast milk is highly suited or best suited to fulfill the needs of the infant. A mammal's milk is tailor-made in terms of nutrients to its young ones. So, all the infants, whether belonging to humans or any other mammals, they grow best when the mother exclusively breastfeeds the infant. The infant should be put to the breast within half an hour after normal delivery and within 4 hours after a caesarean section. Pre-lacteal foods, what we say, a newborn baby should be given honey or jaggery or glucose water. None of them should be given to the infant, because sucking reflex is most active at birth, and pre-lacteal foods reduce the vigor of the infant to suck and may lead to diarrhea and other parasitic infections. Now, whatever is the milk which is secreted in the first few days after the delivery is called as colostrum. During the first 2 or 3 days, watery and yellowish fluid that comes from the mammary gland, which differs from the regular milk, is called colostrum. It is secreted in small quantities of about 10 to 40 ml by the mother. This is very important source of nutrients to the baby and provides lot of immunity. So, all the newborn babies should be fed with colostrum. Let us look at its composition. It is rich in protein, it has low fat content, and the concentration of lactose is also less, but their levels of niacin, pantothenic acid, biotin, riboflavin are also low. But surprisingly, the zinc content is of colostrum is 20 milligrams per liter, whereas mature milk has only 2.6 milligrams per liter of zinc. So, as I said earlier, zinc is very essential for the brain development, and that is provided in plenty of amounts in the colostrum. Colostrum gives the first immunization to the infant. It contains interferon like substance which possesses strong antiviral activity. Colostrum contains vitamin B12 binding protein, which renders the vitamin B12 unable for the growth of E. coli bacteria, because the newborn baby's digestive system has E. coli and it might grow and develop in multiply in numbers. In order to prevent that, the nature made it that the colostrum contains B12, which is it makes it unavailable for the microorganism. It also contains antibodies against viral diseases like smallpox, because a newborn baby immune system is not completely developed, but therefore the mother's milk itself acts like a immunization for this baby. It contains immunoglobulins which protect against smallpox, measles and influenza, all kinds of viral infections. Enzymes like lysozymes which destroy the bacteria and also promote cell maturation are more in colostrum. So, the importance of colostrum cannot be overemphasized, and all the mothers should be taught that after the birth of the baby they should feed the baby with colostrum. Now, it is clear that milk protein calorie is less than cow's milk. See, we compare mostly mother's milk with cow's milk, and if you look at the nutritional composition, the protein content in human milk is 7 grams, whereas in cow's milk it is more. Percentage of fat is 47% in human milk, percentage of fat is 5% in cow's milk. Carbohydrates is 31 in human milk and less, that is 26 in cow's milk. So, overall if you compare the nutritive value of cow's milk versus human milk, it is clear that milk protein calorie is less than cow's milk, whereas carbohydrate calorie percentage is higher in human milk. Ideally suited for an infant, 6% of calories should come from protein. In first 24 hours, glycogen is used for energy. Later on, glucose and fatty acid from the diet or the fat stores are utilized. Now, free fatty acids are released from triglycerides by lipase. Now, newborn do not have a fully developed ability to synthesize carnitine, and they must obtain it from the breast milk or formulas where carnitine is added, and carnitine is absent in cow's milk. Now, one of the important composition in terms of carbohydrate in human milk is galactose, which is essential for the development of myelin sheath for the nerve function. High content of galactolipids promote rapid brain growth in infant. Protein, even though protein content is low in humans, it is suited because infants' kidneys are not fully developed to excrete all the end products of protein metabolism. Breast milk contains amino acids which are specific for brain development, and mother's milk is a good source of essential fatty acid like alpha linoleic acid, but it also provides high amounts of docosahexaenoic acid and icosapantenoic acid EPA and DHA, because these are very much needed for the brain development and growth of brain cells in the infant, and these are found in high amount in the mother's milk. Now, minerals, calcium content in human milk is very good, and the proportion of calcium and phosphorus are found in 2:1, which is easily absorbed and retained by the infant's skeletal system. Low sodium content is suitable for the kidneys, and it also, human milk enhances the zinc absorption. Looking at the vitamins, breast milk contains more of vitamin A, vitamin E and C compared to cow's milk, but both cow's milk and mother's milk, as I told you earlier, are very poor sources of vitamin D, and B complex vitamins are found in the right amount in the mother's milk. Hormones and growth factors. Breast milk is a rich source of hormones like thyroid stimulating TSH, thyroxine, parathyroid hormone, corticosteroids, growth hormone releasing factors, insulin and prolactin. It also contains growth regulating factors. Let us look at the immunological benefits an infant derives by consuming mother's milk. Immunoglobulin A, IgG, IgM, these are the immunoglobulins which are found in mother's milk, which are important for lymphoid cells, polymorphs, macrophages, plasma cells, and chemotactic activities of C3 and C4 complement the system. Unsaturated lactoferrin and transferrin also. Lysozyme, lactoperoxidase. All these are small important components of mother's milk which protect the infant against so many disorders as well as which help in regulating the growth. Now, what are the psychological benefits that the infant and the mother derives? Infant derives a sense of security and belongingness from a mother, and mother feels a sense of calm and satisfaction by feeding the baby. Economic benefits of mother's milk. It is economical to breastfeed the infant than going for commercial formulas which are very expensive, and you are saved from sterilizing the equipment, etc., and the cost is minimal. Physiological factors. Breastfeeding as an important birth control method. Prolactin decreases the synthesis of ovarian hormones, and the uterus of the mother comes back to the normal size and enables the mother to shed extra weight which is accumulated during pregnancy. Let us look at the certain other advantages apart from nutrient advantages, economic, psychological, etc. Infant's jaw becomes fully developed as he works hard to extract milk. Milk is microbiologically sterile. Decreased chance of allergic reactions as human milk proteins do not cause allergies. Lower rate of sudden infant death or what you call cot death. Less renal solute load as there is less urea and sodium to excrete if the baby is fed on mother's milk, and there is less colic, that is pain or stomach pain, as fats and protein in human milk are more easily digested and they cause less gastric and intestinal distress. Human milk is always fresh and at the right temperature. Breastfeeding can be continued during the illness of the infant, and scientific data says that breastfed babies are less likely to develop obesity, hypertension, diabetes and atherosclerosis in later life. These are the latest scientific research findings. Therefore, exclusive breastfeeding up to 6 months. There is also evidence to suggest that breastfed babies have a better IQ score in later life. It is one food that makes a complete meal, and meal is always ready. What are the advantages to the mother? As I said, the rate of breast cancer is also low, and the mother is less likely to become diabetic in the later life. So, these are all the benefits of breastfeeding or exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life. Now, after 6 months, what happens? Let us just see. Next, what I am going to cover is the importance of weaning or the subtypes of supplementary food. Now, the term weaning, it comes from the word wean, that is WEMIAN, which means to accustom. Now, weaning begins from the moment supplementary food is started and continues till the child is taken off breast milk completely. And any solid food that is introduced to the child added to the infant's diet is called beikost, BEIKOST. Before 6 months, solid food is not needed nutritionally, and the extrusion reflex makes feeding of the solids difficult. The baby is unable to swallow solid food. Now, why should we wean the baby, or why should we introduce weaning? Let us look at the need for weaning. Breast milk alone is not able to provide sufficient amount of all the nutrients which are needed to maintain the growth after the first 6 months. This is what we have to understand. Increasing needs of calories and proteins, because the baby triples his body weight by the end of the first year of life, and the mother's milk that is being secreted is not enough to meet the growing nutritional needs of the growing infant. Therefore, weaning or the supplementary feeding has to be resorted by the 6th month of life. We must give calorie dense foods like malted cereals should be given to the infants. Let us look at what are the types of foods which need to be introduced and at what stage. First is liquid supplements. First, in the liquid supplements we have milk, because as I said, the mother's milk production decreases over the first 6 months of life and the growth needs of the infant have increased. So, we need to provide another source of milk in the child's life. So, first liquid food is milk. By the 6th month of life, the frequency of breastfeeding is reduced to 3 or 4 feeds per day and animal milk is substituted. Fresh fruit juice, oranges, tomatoes, sweet lime, grapes serve to supplement the protective nutrients, especially vitamin C, which is low in mother's milk, which are not present in sufficient amounts in the breast milk. Soup from green leafy vegetables. In case of fresh fruits are not available, leafy vegetables may be used as an alternative. All these foods, whether juices or soups, can be given only after straining. Unstrained foods should not be given to the baby. Solid supplements, that is, apart from liquids, mashed food is to be given from 7th or 8th month of life. First, we talk about starch and cereal foods. To meet the increasing demands of calories and proteins, well cooked mashed cereals mixed with milk and sugar can be given. That is, it can be soft rice or foods like idlis, etc. And you make porridges, or you can use semolina to make porridges, and this can be introduced as the solid mashed supplement. Then vegetables, cooked mashed vegetables like potato, leafy vegetables and carrots can be introduced to get vitamins and minerals and color in the diet. Fruits, all fruits with the exception of banana, which is mashed, must be stewed and served for 1-year-old baby. For example, if you are giving an apple, that apple should be peeled, de-seeded and stewed. That means it should be cooked in a steamer, mashed well. You can add honey and lemon juice to supplement the vitamin C, and this all the fruits other than banana should be stewed. Stewing is nothing but steaming of fruits and mashing them well. Now, non-vegetarian food, a small amount of hard-boiled egg yolk is given to start with, and if the infant tolerates, the amount can be increased by day to day, and it should be roughly about, after starting the egg yolk compared to the egg white, egg yolk is introduced first because egg white causes allergies. So, to avoid that, egg yolk, which is more rich in nutritional value as well as low in allergens, should be introduced. Minced meat or cooked meat, which is boiled, fish, etc., may be fed to a child 3 to 4 times a week. Pulses, soft cooked pulses along with cereals can be implemented. Now, solid supplements which are not mashed. Now, when should they be introduced? When the baby starts cutting his teeth and ready to chew, start giving chopped foods. Cooked cereals, pulses, vegetables can be given to the child. Solids like idli, idiyappam, bread, chapati, rice, dal can be given after the child gets used to semi-solid foods. Mixes which are prepared at home, like a mix of rice and dals and ragi, etc., plus nuts, jaggery, honey, all that can be made into a porridge which can be given to the infant. Now, let us look at what are the points to be kept in mind during weaning, because weaning requires lot of patience on the part of the mother to set the right food habits in the life of the infant. And we also say that by the end of the first year of life, the child should have been introduced to all varieties of food, not just rice and dal. Now, What are the points? Introduce only one food at a time and allow the infant to get used or become familiar with that one food, and only then proceed to giving or introducing another new food. Allow the infant to know the flavor of the food, and initially always remember to give only very small quantities of food to the baby in the form of teaspoonfuls. Only when the child starts accepting, you can give more quantity after the child is used to it. And use very thin consistency when starting the solid foods. It should not be totally thick and solid, because it might choke the baby, because the child is not used to chewing and swallowing. After several trials, the baby, if they have an acute dislike for a particular food, omit that food for a week or 2 weeks and try again. If the dislike persists, it is better to forget about the food and substitute that food with another food. Food should be very lightly seasoned, not heavily seasoned. At first, strained fruits, vegetables and cereals are to be given. When the baby is able to chew, gradually substitute finely chopped fruits and vegetables at the age of 9 to 10 months individually, but will take them willingly if mixed with another food. Variety in the choice of food is very important. To make the food calorie dense, one can add oil, butter or ghee to the infant's diet. There are always certain problems in weaning. Like if a mother is overfeeding the baby, it can result in obesity. If the mother is underfeeding the baby, it results in underweight. Then any new food is being introduced for the first time, wait for few days to see any allergic reactions are there. In that case, avoid that particular food. Choking in the baby occurs when the food is of big size, uncooked properly, not strained. So one must take care. Diarrhea is another very common problem seen in children when we introduce food for the first time. So when the food is indigestible. So just take care to see that you introduce small quantities at one time. Let the baby's stomach also get used to that food. So I hope I have given you a very detailed account of infancy, the requirements, the importance of mother's milk, and also the weaning, the importance of weaning at the right time. So I hope you have understood each and every word from the lesson that I have taught you.